Palm Sunday always makes me think about my disappointment with God. Let me explain what I mean. Palm Sunday commemorates when Jesus arrived into Jerusalem, the capital city of Israel, and he was heralded as a new king, this local hero that the crowd was cheering on. In fact, it's called Palm Sunday because the crowd was so incredibly excited that they were literally ripping branches off of palm trees and throwing it in his path. Kind of like how at some weddings, flower petals are thrown into the pathway of a new bride. It was a time of incredible celebration. But that excitement, it didn't last long. Why? Because of disappointment with Jesus. You see, this crowd thought they knew who Jesus ought to be. They thought they knew what kind of king he ought to be, what kind of people he ought to accept and welcome in, and the kind of people he ought to reject and turn away. They thought they knew what their biggest problems were and exactly how he should fix them. And when Jesus didn't live up to their expectations, they allowed their disappointment to lead them to reject him and his grace. I think inevitably in this life, we will be disappointed with God. Things will not turn out the way we think they ought to. Sometimes God will feel distant and silent. And sometimes he'll give us his grace, but it'll come in baffling and confusing and even frustrating ways. The God we meet in Jesus is not always the God that we expect. What we see in Jesus is the audacious God who becomes a man to enter into our experience, to join us to himself, to overcome everything that stands in the way between us receiving his love. In Jesus, we meet a God who doesn't just welcome the so-called righteous and self-sufficient, but he welcomes those who are selfish and those who are sinners and those who are poor and needy and weak. In Jesus, we meet a God who doesn't give us good advice about how to be a good person, but we find a God who gives us the announcement of good news of a victory accomplished for us. This Palm Sunday, this year, let's let go of the Jesus of our expectations, who has absolutely nothing for us. And let's find the true Jesus, who has promised to us the immeasurable riches of his grace, both now and forever.